Okay. Did Mazda discontinue CX-5?
No. So the CX-5 will be returning as another year, a 2024. I don't know if Mazda has plans to redesign the CX-5. There's been no talk of a replacement for it either.
Okay.
They've been pretty quiet about what their intentions are with the car.
Okay, so they are quiet and it is being a little bit secretive. So my other question is, if I have to compare CX-5 to the new CX-50, what are the extra features that CX-50 has and not CX-5?
So the CX-50 shares the same platform as the CX-30. So this is a newer platform for Mazda, whereas the 5 is a little bit older platform. So technology-wise, there's certain things they could not add on to the 5 that exist currently in the CX-50. Now the CX-50 has the attention driver's alert to watch your eyes if you get exhausted, things like that. The car can tell you it's time to take a break, things of that nature. That is not a feature that is an option on the 5. And that's because it's an older model. So that's a generation 6, as Mazda explains, and this is a generation 7.
Okay.
So there's certain tech like the wireless CarPlay, just certain things that they're able to do in this car because it's a newer generation.
Okay, and you just mentioned that the technology is different. And you did touch base a little bit with some of the added features.
Right.
But what is the difference in terms of technology between CX-5 and CX-50?
I can tell you that the philosophy behind the 50 was a whole new segment for Mazda, tapping into the auto industry. So, all your SUVs are quite capable of doing some kind of off-road driving, regardless of brand. But there's certain brands that have labeled themselves as being strictly off-road type of atmosphere. Your Jeeps, your Subaru. We know Land Rover does it, and that's more in a luxury end. But they're still known for going outdoors and going into water. When Mazda did this assessment to find out, was their cars and any of the SUVs were selected for things like this, they really didn't get much information back. So that's what intrigued them to make the CX-50. The philosophy behind the 5, which ultimately ended up saving Mazda as a manufacturer after the economy crashed here and Ford sold Mazda back their 20% shares. The 5 was not only supposed to be new engineering, a new direction for combustible engines, body style and designing, structure, making sure the car was safe. Everything they poured out into the 5. So the 5 is truly an image of Mazda, because it was the car that actually kept them going and now have allowed for them to exceed where they're at now, right? So it's an older car. It's it's aging very well. It still looks extremely attractive.
It does.
But the ride of the 5 definitely competes more on a premium luxury side. The 50, it has premium materials in it, and you can definitely feel the quality in the vehicle, but it has a little rugged side to itself, so a different philosophy of a car.
As a consumer and who spends a lot of time in the car, the only feedback I can give Mazda, if they are listening, is please make standard Bose as a standard in every car.
Premium
Because
surround sound.
the sound is so bad if the Bose speakers are not there. Or at least give Alcate options that we can upgrade the speaker systems for X amount.
Right.
Rather than going for a model up.
Right. Mazda's relationship with Bose has been pretty special. 30 plus years the two manufacturers have worked together. What I like about, because a lot of brands use Bose equipment in their cars. What I like about what Mazda has done, and what the public really doesn't know, with Mazda or any of the other manufacturers, a lot of times when a manufacturer is designing a vehicle, they buy the equipment from whoever their sound specialist is, whether it's Pioneer or Bose or anyone else that's out there, and then they put the speakers where their engineers suggest. Mazda will contact Bose if they're working on a new project, and based off the design of the cabin that they are planning, will ask Bose where should they actually put these speakers, because who's going to know sound better than the actual sound specialist? Mazda engineers are designing a car, and it's all about the mechanical part of building a car, but what do they really know truly about the sound quality and how it's going to travel in the cabin? So even though a lot of manufacturers purchase their speakers from whatever their sound specialist is, a lot of them, because they're larger than Mazda, don't have time to really have a specialist come visit them in the factory and lay out where the speakers are going to go. Now, some of the luxury brands used to do that. A lot of them have now gotten kind of away from that. And now they're just putting the speakers where they think the best sound is going to travel in that cabin based off the design of the car. So I really appreciate the relationship between Mazda and Bose. And I kind of agree with you. I wish there was still, even if you're looking at a entry-level vehicle with Mazda, to still have an option for an upgrade for a quality sound in the car. I think that would be a nice touch.
Because my daughter has Bose in her CX-5 and I don't in my CX-30. So whenever I drive her CX-5, the sound is totally different. It's a night and day.
Right.
It's a night and day. And the background, the drums, the bass, it picks up really very well compared to my CX-30,
right,
which I haven't listed at a higher end model.
Now, so you've had Mazda for some time.
Like since 99.
Okay. And so obviously you're a returning customer of Mazda's and you love their product. Tell me about what you see now. We're sitting in a CX-50. Is there anything in this particular car that stands out for you?
It's the sunroof.
The panorama roof.
Yeah, and it's really very big. I really like that. And I haven't driven it, so I really don't know what the perks are. But from the looks of it, the AC, it's really from end to end. It's not like there's a break in between.
Right.
And that, it's really very good because no matter where the person is sitting, they are going to get the air conditioning. And other than that, everything is like my CX-30, and it's all, everything is at fingertips.
Right.
I don't have to go to the center console. Everything is at fingertips right here.
Okay.
And I don't have to take my eyes off when I'm driving. Oh, let me go to this. Let me just hit this. No, it's just at fingertips.
Okay.
But maybe once in a while I go to this knob over here. Even if I do that, I don't have to take my eyes off of the road.
Right.
It's just like 2 seconds.
I like that too. I know some of the media has pushed back about Mazda using the rotary dial. So for those out there who aren't familiar, if you're coming from one of the larger brands, they don't really use this rotary dial style to navigate your touchscreen, right? So Mazda has taken a page from BMW, who kind of really started this trend with this rotary knob. It really is like working a mouse on a desktop computer. So your hand, you do not have to look down at your hand to navigate this whatsoever. Mazda took away the touchscreen ability because...
Yes, that was my question. I think they should bring back the touch ability because there was a safety feature because my daughter's CX-5 has a touch ability.
Right.
But when I'm driving, the touch screen doesn't work.
Right.
Only when I'm at the full stop, it does. Sometimes I want that touch ability.
So let me just explain why Mazda moved away from the touchscreen And a lot of these manufacturers do their own studies. But when Congress held a session with the auto industry and they were wondering why has collisions increased with all the tech that's offered in cars for safety today, you still have a tremendous amount of collisions, or you still have pedestrians being struck by automobiles. So initially the industry did what? They tried to push the blame on the cell phone, right? But you know, CarPlay and Android Auto, their system was introduced into the market in 2014, and manufacturers jumped on board and started using this. So that kind of eliminate people picking up their phone in the car. So what is the other distractions that are happening in an automobile if the car has all the safety equipment? How are you still striking pedestrians? So what is the distraction that's left in the automobile besides eating, drinking, doing your eyelashes or lipstick? But realistically, what is the only distraction left? And when you look at how many more collisions there are for non-premium brands, because premium brands, most of them use some kind of rotary knob, or how you have like on your
The four
your
buttons.
notebook or what do you call it, a tablet. They have a similar type system. The collision rates are higher for your non-premium brands. Why? Because the ones they put in the car is a touchscreen. And anybody can practice this at home. If you take your finger, your pointer finger, and you go point, watch where your eyes go. They always follow the tip of your finger. And for that brief moment that you take your eyes off the road to use your touchscreen, depending on where the touchscreen is in the vehicle, it becomes a distraction. It only takes seconds. Audi was the first brand that actually moved the screen from where the radios used to be in cars and moved them into the line of sight. And part of that reason was their engineers and their professional drivers found that it takes the human eye too long from looking down to look, to look up, which means that if a child or a deer or something ran into the street, the driver has no chance of coming to a complete safe stop without injuring or killing the individual outside. So I'm okay with no touchscreen because I've adapted to using the rotary knob. I no longer really need to take my eyes off the road to search or find whatever it is I'm looking for in the car. But that's really the story behind why Mazda has pushed for no touchscreen. And even though the older cars had the ability of both, the touchscreen was only accessible at low speeds. And then once you started driving, it would lock the screen, so you couldn't do that, and you had to use the rotary knob. That may be annoying for most who come from a brand that is commonly used for a touchscreen. So we're gonna wrap up our session today. This is
I have
Rupa.
one more question.
Okay, so
when is Mazda going to introduce full EV vehicle?
Well, they already have an actual full EV vehicle. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a long range to it. It only has up to about 120 mile range battery, which again got a lot of negative feedback from it. Even I did a not such positive feedback about the range of that battery. But understanding why Mazda took that route versus trying to be like Tesla or some of the other brands who are now trying to mimic Tesla with the larger battery packs. There's a lot the industry has to learn really about electric. So I'm just gonna let you folks know, as we're making this transition into electric, a lot of these manufacturers are still searching for another alternative because longevity of electric is just not there. The science and the engineering behind it shows that there's going to be some issues with everybody switching to electric. No matter how much the government tries to sell you on it, realistically, it's not really set up for that just yet. Okay. So this is Rupa. I'm Felix. This is Car Brand Infos. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next episode.